I need a horse. My neighbors have horses. Well, they have mini horses. I've got horses that are very small. I don't know their names, so I have named them Sunflower and Lima Bean. And Lima Bean is smaller than my dog. Maybe I can use them. Mini, 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 mini horsies. Does anybody want an apple? Do you want an apple and to whinny into my Keytar? Okay. They are not swayed by the apple. Now it's my apple. I've played enough video games to know how this works. Now they're gonna come right over here. They're gonna come right up. They're gonna say hello. Come on, guys. And now that we know what hell sounds like, let's move on to the Keytar review of the day. This special little baby is the Nissan C16 Cup Noodles Keytar. If you want to know about the features of this, you can look up basically any review of the Casio SK1, which was an inexpensive sampling keyboard made in like '85. And this is that, but it says Cup Noodle on it, and it has a neck. So the Nissan C16 Cup Noodles Keytar, from what I can tell, there's not a whole ton of information out there about it, just that it was a novelty prize for some Nissan contest or sweepstakes. I can't find information about... Do I need to tilt the camera down? And you can see my feet, which I know is what, at least 10% of you are here. So I can't find information about exactly what the sweepstakes was, what it entailed to become part of it, what the blood sacrifice was, any of that. I can't find any of that. Ow, that is hot corn on my ankle, which I then put in my mouth. I'm so smart. I can't find any of that information. It's hot. Why am I eating this? It's like 88 degrees in my house right now. That tastes exactly like middle school. But we're not here to watch me eat cup of noodles. We're here to review this. So apart from novelty item for a sweepstakes, I couldn't find any information about why Cup of Noodles and Casio decided to get together. I mean, like, we live in a world where weird stuff like that happens, but I would like to know the origins. It doesn't have true strap buttons. I had to make this strap from scratch because I needed ones with the clips. It has 32 keys. They are not velocity sensitive. It's got two modes. It's got play mode and record mode. We are currently getting output from the 1/8" output that it has on the back. So this has 4 voices, or 4 voice polyphony, which it doesn't handle. The SHS-10 has absolutely spoiled me into thinking all Keytars should be like this. But the SHS-10 has 6 voices, but when you hit the 7th voice, it just cuts out the last one. You You can hear the low notes cut out, especially since I made that first one dissonant. It's a lot easier to get these off the wall than it is to get them back on the wall. Come on, come on, come on. It's like reverse fishing. Oh well. So it has 4 voices at once. After that it just cuts off. 8 pre-built tones, an additive synthesis, and a sampling option. So our voices are, here's our piano. We get our trumpet. Wow. Brass ensemble. And our flute. We got jazz organ. And pipe organ. You don't get any transpose, you don't get any octave shift, nothing like that. You don't get that fancy stuff. It has a portamento option though. When I say 8 voices, you know how I say that the SHS 300 has 11 voices and a drum track? This has 6 voices and 2 specialty noises. We have the synth drum, which actually is a really great synth drum. And human voice. This one's uncomfortable. They pitch those up by just speeding them up, so if you take the synth drum and you pick a low A and a high A and you go... It does that. You also have the option to select envelopes, and of course, depending on the envelope you select, you can make the sound absolutely nothing like what it does. It also has a additive synthesis option, where you... oh god. You press the blue button there, and you have drawbar notations here. You got 1 foot, 1 1/3, 1 3/5, 2, 2 2/3, 4, 5 1/3, 8 and 16. And then you come up with your sounds exactly like you would on a drawbar organ, which I assume all of us are familiar with. Then you can save that and make a lovely sound like that. With the synthesis and the envelopes, you can get a lot more instrument sounds out of this. But if you download the manual for the Casio SK1, it has a list of, we think these instruments sound like this. So you can get a lot more instruments out of that. The thing that everybody remembers this for is the sampling function. My cat is not here, so we are going to have to improvise a pretend cat. It has a microphone 1/4 inch and a line-in 1/8 inch, which means that you can record your sample off of your phone or your iPod if you have an aux cable. Modern day technology works with a 1985 synthesizer to get us exactly as annoying as we want to be in this modern day and age. So here we go. Meow! Meow! Whatever you say in there, it will assign as a non-distorted to this A. We really have to. Remember when I said that if you set everything on the vortex to pitch bend, you can unleash the sound of hell? This is a much easier way to achieve the same effect. We can take our iPad, plug it into GarageBand, grand piano sound, and we're gonna go back to the Hyrule Field theme because I know that one better. You can get numerous exciting sounds out of this. only store one sample, and if you turn it off, your sample is gone. Nothing persists. So you can save a whole bunch of data on this as long as you don't turn it off, and it automatically turns off after 7 minutes of being unattended. So if you've made something you like, you need to commit to it with the rest of your entire life. So that is the sampling, that is the synthesizing, those are the voices. You also get rhythms if you go down into chord. These are great, and if you don't love these, I don't know what's wrong with you. So we have slow rock. We got regular rock. Disco. And then these rhythm tracks have chords that go along with them. I can start up. So those are the basic functions of play mode in normal or chord mode. But that is not everything that this Keytar can do. I'm hungry. Give me 1 second. I can smell this, and it smells so good. I haven't had cup of noodles since middle school. I graduated from middle school in 2005. Like, I think it's funny every once in a while I'll say something like that, and half the people are like, oh, you're that old, and half the people are like, oh, you're so young. But while we're on the subject of making things sound like the sound of hell, you thought the Taiko hotkeys couldn't get any worse, but I just made it worse. And now we are going to delete that sample so that we don't have to hear that ever again. Because this volume, this on switch, has another setting, and that is the record setting. We're going to go into solo mode number 2. The 2 solos are 2 layers that you can record on top of each other. So for example, I wanted to start one of them. Editing me, I forgot to mention that this does not loop your track. It's not like the SHS-10. So if you want to record a bass line on this and the bass line loops, you need to get really good at counting how many loops you need to repeat, because there is just no. So that's my little bit. And if I hit autoplay, it'll play back what I just did. We also have this one key play. There's 2 buttons for this. They both do the same thing, it's just to make it easier for you to overlap notes. I can set a tempo of what I just did by using the one key play buttons. So now I've destroyed the tempo of the thing I just did. But if you're writing a piece and you realize later that you want the melody to be a different way, you have the ability to change it. Oh, hot! We can then go up to solo number 1, and we can change instruments. We're going to change it to the piano voice. If you hit autoplay, it will play it back as you recorded it. And now I can go back into autoplay. Why do I keep eating this? It's not even good. And I can then switch this into play mode. It saves everything that I just wrote, and now playing over it won't break what I just did permanently. It doesn't necessarily sound good, but it won't break what I just did. Play that back. When you do a playback, one of the things is that this still only has 4 voices to use. I'm playing the wrong chords on this, whatever. You're not here for my musical skill. If you were, I'd still be at like 2 subs. So if you hit playback and then you play over it, you are gonna run into problems where you can't play chords over it because 2 of those voices are already being used. You've got a little built-in layering function that lets you get some really cool sounds out of it. But the main drawback of this is that every time you turn it off, your samples, your synthesizing patch that you did, and all your recordings are gone. There's no saving it. And that's not a huge problem, except that it turns itself off if you don't interact with it for 7 minutes. But that said, if you are interested in getting a weird Keytar, you want something that has really similar features to the SHS-10. It's got the same size keys, it's got onboard rhythm tracks, it's got the same number of keys and onboard rhythm tracks. If you are drawn to the SHS-10, but you want something that's a little bit different, you don't want to be like everybody else, you just want your own weird thing, this might be a really good Keytar for you. The neck is not functional, it's just there to look pretty. The straps are not normal, they're just there to be weird. But I'm gonna say this, if you are interested in getting a Keytar, you probably are pretty comfortable with doing things just to be weird. And this little Keytar is everything you could want out of just being weird. Also, if you are interested in making lo-fi music, this is probably the single greatest lo-fi Keytar out there. So you could get a Casio SK1, or you could get this novelty Cup Noodles themed Keytar. We don't know why it exists. Nobody has proof of why it exists. We don't truly know for what reason it was created. But we know that we serve the cup noodles. It's got a real output, that's really what matters. It's not a Keytar if it doesn't have some kind of output. So that's basically it. There is a ton of things you can do with this. You should be ready to save all of it because it sure won't save it for you. And if you were really drawn to the SHS-10 but you want to be just a little bit weirder, the Cup Noodles Keytar is the way to go. If anybody has any information about actually when or why it was produced, I just see that it's really rare, that it's bizarre, that it was made as a novelty item. It's absolutely a novelty item. If anybody has any information about how you originally got one of these, please let me know. I will pin it as the top comment. So be sure to check out in the comments and see if anybody has answered the ultimate question. Yeah, what you doing? Oh, you grumpy? Are you grumpy? You grumpy kitty? Are you grumpy because people aren't liking the video? Not gonna like and subscribe to the video? Is that why you're grumpy? Or are you grumpy because it's 88 degrees in here, huh? Look at those big paws. Look at those big paws. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoy this and subscribe.